Doesn't that man live in the big house on the corner?
It's Phoenix Buchanan.
Dad's celebrity client.
He's one of our Platinum Club members and a very famous actor.
Or used to be. Now he just does dog food commercials. Mrs. Bird doesn't like him because he can never remember her name.
Now then, simmer down, simmer. All right, a little bit more. I'm sorry, I'm at my worst tonight, I really am. I am tickled the deepest shade of shrimp to have been asked here tonight to open this wonderful old steam fair.
But you know, when Madame Kozlova created this thing all those years ago...
She most certainly was not thinking of people like me. Whatever I am, VIP, celebrity, I hate all that stuff. No, West End legend, that's another one. No, she was thinking of you guys, huh? The ordinary people. So, I'm going to ask one of you to come up here and open the fair. Volunteers. Anyway. Eeny, meeny, miny. Bear. Oh, let's have the young bear. Why not? Come, young Urson. Thank you. Up here, my furry friend. Very good, very good. Now, your name is?
Paddington Brown.
Oh, well, of course it is. You are my new neighbor. You live with Henry and Mary and the great Mrs. Now then, I suppose you know who I am.
Oh, yes. You're a very famous actor.
Oh, pooh.
Or used to be. Now you do dog food commercials.
Well, a man has to eat.
What? Dog food?
Very, very funny.
Quiet on the set!
Happy New Year! This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the January 9th, 2018 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you on the Chronic Riff Network. Starting with the box office report, The Jungle overcame the Jedi for a strong start to the new year. The top 12 cumulative performance is the third highest all time, only being surpassed by 2016 and 2010, which contained Star Wars The Force Awakens and Avatar, respectively. It's up about 20% from last year. The countdown begins with number 10 and All the Money in the World, down 3 from 7th. At number 9 is Coco, down 3 from 6th. At 8 is The Darkest Hour, holding position from last week. In 7th is Molly's Game, popping up 6 spots from 13th. And capping the bottom 5 at 6th is Ferdinand, down 1 from 5th. The top 5 begin with Pitch Perfect 3, down 2 from 3rd with $10.3 million added to a total of $86.1 million. In 4th place is The Greatest Showman, holding steady from last week with $13.8 million and a total of $76.9 million. In 3rd place is last week's champion, Star Wars The Last Jedi, earning $23.7 million for a total of $572.7 million. Adding in the $634 million from overseas sales, the 8th episode of the Skywalker saga is sitting at $1.2 billion worldwide. It now sits at 6th place on the all-time domestic charts and has about another $60 million or so to go before it can beat The Avengers at number 5. In 2nd place is this chart's only new release, Insidious: The Last Key, premiering to $29.6 million. That's the 2nd largest debut of the franchise, fitting in between Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, with a fairly large gap between all 3 of them. It's also the 9th largest opening for a Blumhouse production, barely beating Paranormal Activity 4. Audiences give it a B- cinema score, and critics give it a 28% reception. For now, it's the top earning premiere of 2018. Hey, sometimes you have to take what you can get. Moving into first this week is Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, getting a promotion from 2nd place with $37.2 million and a new total of $245.6 million. That's the first time that this film has been in first place since it was released 3 weeks ago. Jumanji is the highest grossing live-action release of all time for Kevin Hart, and is the 2nd largest live-action release for Dwayne Johnson behind Furious 7. Going into this weekend, Jumanji was number 7 on the list of movies that had never reached number 1 at the weekend box office. For trivia's sake, the films ahead of it were World War Z, 2009's Sherlock Holmes, the first two Alvin and the Chipmunks films, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and Sing. The box office premieres for January 12th are bringing back the bear. This week's headliner is Paddington 2, an adventure comedy starring Ben Whishaw, Hugh Grant, and Hugh Bonneville.
In the past month, these three shadowy individuals have all been seen snooping around 3 London landmarks.
Oh.
We think the thief you saw is part of a criminal gang.
Using the pop-up book as a treasure map.
Well, it's a theory. Have you found out who they are?
Not yet, dearie.
Maybe I should take a look.
I'm sorry, this is a private conversation. Oh, it's all right, Mr. Brown. This is my friend, Knuckles.
Go here.
And this is Phibbs.
G'day.
Spoon.
Hello.
Jimmy the Snitch.
All right.
T-Bone.
Watch out.
The Professor.
Oh.
Squeaky Pete.
Ow.
Double Bass Bob.
Hello.
Farmer Jack.
Okay.
Mad Dog. Johnny Cashpoint.
Ka-ching.
Sir Geoffrey Wilcott.
I hope I can rely on your vote.
And Charlie Rumble.
It's so wonderful to meet you all. I must say it's a great relief to know that Paddington's already made such sweet friends.
Would you excuse us a moment?
What are you doing?
Talking to the nice men.
Nice men? Mary, we can't trust these people. I mean, look at them. Talk about a rogues gallery. Hideous. And as for that bearded baboon in the middle, he's hardly got 2 brain cells to rub together.
We can still hear you, Mr. Brown. That was the light you turned off. The microphone is on the other side. It's got microphone written on it.
Gentlemen.
Paddington, now happily settled with the Brown family and a popular member of the local community, picks up a series of odd jobs to buy the perfect present for his Aunt Lucy's 100th birthday, only for the gift to be stolen. Paddington 2 is rated PG. It's a hard choice between Paddington and the next film on the list. I loved the first Paddington film, and I remember reading one of the books as a kid, but the next film has the sole reasons I paid to see The Grey, Liam Neeson and his furious fists. It is The Commuter, a mystery thriller starring Liam Neeson, Vera Farmiga, and Patrick Wilson.
Why are you going to Cold Spring?
That's none of your business.
What's in the bag?
My God, what is with you people and my bag? Jeez. Hey, what are you doing? Let go of me.
I'm trying to help.
Seriously, come on, do something.
Who is that?
What's your problem?
Mike, you gotta let the lady go.
You don't get it, do you? She wants you dead. You witnessed a murder. You have something that she wants. Something she's willing to kill for.
Okay, Mike, you gotta let her go, Mike. Let the lady go. Mike.
Hand me the phone.
Mike, come on.
Back. Don't move. Stay in your seats. Please, hand me the phone.
A businessman is caught up in a criminal conspiracy during his daily commute home. We're talking about Taken on a Train, people. Taken on a Train. The Commuter is rated PG-13. The third film this week is Proud Mary, an action thriller starring Taraji P. Henson, Neil McDonough, and Danny Glover. Mary is a hitwoman working for an organized crime family in Boston. Mary's life is completely turned around when she meets a young boy whose path she crosses when a professional hit goes awry. Something about Taraji P. Henson as a hitwoman just makes me smile. Proud Mary is rated R. There are also 3 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of January 9th, and I'll begin with the new release on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list begins with It, a horror thriller starring Bill Skarsgård, Javier Botet, and Owen Teague. In a small town in Maine, 7 children known as the Losers Club come face to face with life problems, bullies, and a monster that takes the shape of a clown called Pennywise. I love the 1990 TV miniseries version, and I can't wait to be scared by this version as well. A sequel, It Chapter 2, is already scheduled for release in September 2019. It is rated R. The other big title on this list is Marshall, a biographical drama starring Chadwick Boseman, Josh Gad, and Kate Hudson. This is about a young Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court justice, as he battles through one of his career-defining cases. The trailer for this one caught my attention, and now it's near the top of my list for films to watch in 2018. Marshall is rated PG-13. There are two other films hitting physical media this week. The first is The Foreigner, a cat-and-mouse action thriller starring Katie Leung, Jackie Chan, and Rufus Jones. The Foreigner is rated R. And the second is My Little Pony, the Movie, an animated adventure film starring Tara Strong, Emily Blunt, and Liev Schreiber. My Little Pony, the Movie is rated PG. Swinging by new releases on digital video, the first title is Jigsaw, a horror thriller starring Laura Vandervoort, Tobin Bell, and Matt Passmore. Bodies are turning up around the city, each having met a uniquely gruesome demise. As the investigation proceeds, evidence points to one man, John Kramer. But how can this be? The man known as Jigsaw has been dead for over a decade. In an interesting parallel, this franchise had been dead for 7 years, nearly a decade before this revival, and it wasn't well received by neither critics nor audiences, and was the second to worst performer of the 8-film library. The other big digital release this week is Thank You for Your Service, starring Miles Teller, Haley Bennett, and Amy Schumer. This is the military-based drama that looks at the epidemic of post-traumatic stress disorder and how it affects service members and their families. Thank You for Your Service is rated R. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, we start things there with Scooby Doo and Batman, the Brave and the Bold from 2018, starring Matthew Lillard, Diedrich Bader, and Tara Strong. When Scooby Doo and the gang run into notorious crooks that are too hot to handle, the caped crusader himself, Batman, swings in to save the day. After an unsolved case from Batman's past comes back to haunt him, and the mysterious Crimson Cloak threatens to take over Gotham, Batman recruits Mystery Inc. to help crack the case. Will their teamwork be enough to solve the mystery and foil the plans of the most dangerous rogue villains the world has ever known? Pack your utility belts with gadgets and Scooby snacks to find out as you take off for a wild, crime-busting thrill ride of a caper. The other TV title this week is Girlfriends, the complete series, spanning 2000 to 2008 and starring Tracy Ellis Ross, Golden Brooks, and Persia White. Girlfriends is a glimpse into the lives of 4 friends as they navigate their way through life's trials and tribulations with wit and humor. Through all the challenges of work and relationships, their friendship remains their bond. I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past, and this week I bring you one title. That one is Young Mr. Lincoln, a biographical drama from 1939 starring Henry Fonda, Kenneth McGowan, and Alice Brady. In a parallel to the aforementioned Marshall, this is a fictionalized account of the early life of the American president as a young lawyer facing his greatest court case. Helmed by a classic Academy Award-winning director, John Ford, this is a film that was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It's coming to the Criterion Collection, so it's a good bet that's the case. Young Mr. Lincoln is not rated. After this brief break for about a shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will continue.
Emergency. Batman speaking. Warning all of you to brace yourselves for big news.
The biggest.
Tell them, Robin.
Holy superlatives, Batman! It's really exciting.
Greetings, citizens. Join me, your old bat chum, John S. Drew, on my journey to discover what it is I love about the classic 1966 Batman television series on the Batcave podcast. Each episode, I'm joined by a guest host as we review the classic television series. There's a new episode every 2 weeks. Same bat time, same bat channel on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or at thebatcavepodcast.com.
Holy memoranda, folks. Make a note not to miss it.
Good thinking, Robin.
and welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. First up, Netflix's Bright gets a sequel. I don't know why, but I guess enough people liked it to warrant a sequel. Or perhaps there's more story to tell? I don't know. I didn't make it past the halfway mark in the show. I mean, it had a great premise, I just think the execution was absolutely horrible. However, 11 million people have proven the staying power of the show, and Netflix had ordered a sequel with Will Smith and Joel Edgerton once again reprising their roles. Those of you who liked the first one will have to tell me how the next one is. I've got zero interest. Next, Captain Marvel cast She's Gotta Have It star DeWanda Wise in a big role. A co-star role, to be exact. Production kicks into full gear later on this spring, so Marvel has been busy fixing up and rounding out the cast. It may be possible that DeWise is playing Carol Danvers' best friend and fellow superhero Monaco Rambeau. This is of course speculation, as there has been no announcement as to her role in the first female-led Marvel superhero movie. Previous casting calls for Captain Marvel showed the movie was searching for a main female Skrull. DeWise could be filling that role, but please no. There are so many problems with that. If it proves to be true, I will be very disappointed. However, it could be that DeWise could be playing a Kree, but everything is up in the air right now. We will let you know as more news about the movie comes out. Next, Ridley Scott may direct Disney's Merlin Saga adaptation. I'm sorry, the what now? Apparently there's a 12-book YA series about Merlin. Huh, who knew? According to Variety, it looks like Disney and Ridley Scott are pretty close to sealing the deal. His production company, Scott Free, is also said to be in talks to produce the film along with Gil Netter. Merlin Saga is set to be written by King Kong and the Lovely Bones writer, Philippa Boyens. So the show, or movie, or whatever this is going to be, is an origin story that will follow Merlin in his early years before he becomes a mentor to King Arthur. I feel like this has been done by the BBC, but okay, whatever. The series author T.A. Barron enthusiastically praised Disney's committal to keep him closely involved in the production process. He also revealed his personal goal to simply see the film portray Merlin's story in a compelling manner. A live-action adaptation of The Sword and the Stone from Game of Thrones writer Brian Cogman can also be expected in the near future. Now see, part of me wants to groan aloud. Don Bluth is a personal hero of mine, but another part of me is consciously interested in a live-action version of the animated and shortened and liberally picked from adaptation of The Once and Future King, which is a great book if you haven't read it. Yahoo reports that Scott also met with Disney executives in consideration for live-action adaptation of The Sword and the Stone as well, but it appears he won't be going forward with that project. Again, I am cautiously interested. I've never heard of the books until now, so maybe we're getting a fresh take on treaded and retreaded ground. Talking of reboots, reshoots, and remakes and the like, Hulu has ordered a reboot of Animaniacs for a 2-season run starting in 2020. Hello, nurses! I don't know about this. You don't mess with perfection, man, and Animaniacs, along with Batman the Animated Series, is perfection. The streaming service is also immediately adding the existing library of not only Animaniacs episodes, but its sister series Pinky and the Brain, Pinky, Elmira and the Brain, and Tiny Toon Adventures. Yay! Tiny Toons! Created by writer Tom Ruegger and executive produced by Steven Spielberg, Animaniacs originally ran for 5 glorious seasons on the Fox network, and later the WB. It was essentially a variety show, collecting short skits featuring a rotating cast of characters anchored by 3 unhinged siblings, the Warners, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, and it was just the best show. One short, Pinky and the Brain, was popular enough to spawn its own highly successful spin-off series, and now Hulu is getting the zany band back together. The streaming service has announced that it's teaming with Spielberg to revive the series, Hulu's first family-friendly original. Notably, Hulu's press release refers to the new series as a reboot rather than a revival and doesn't name any actors or crew beyond Spielberg. The vast majority of the original series' voices actors are still active in animation, and one hopes they would be willing to return to what is, for most of them, their most widely beloved work. Because, let's be honest, there is only one Yakko, and that's Yakko. It could be that Hulu decides to go by way of Disney and completely depart from the original series and include different voice actors. I only hope that, no matter which way they go, Spielberg remembers what made Animaniacs so special and tries to keep that feeling throughout the new series. And maybe give some consideration to bringing back Freakazoid, because, Freakazoid, man. And finally, for those of you who were worried, Fox TV shows won't change tones or air on ABC post-Disney buyout. Everyone always worries that Disney is going to come in and sanitize products when a major buyout is made by the company. And it's understandable, look at their fairy tales. While the Brothers Grimm wound up sanitizing a fair few of their own tellings of the stories as times and views on certain things changed, their efforts were nothing compared to the power of the Mouse House and its disinfecting wipes. Last month's announcement that the Walt Disney Company is buying out Fox brought a lot of questions. Most coverage focused on Marvel Studios getting back the rights to X-Men and Fantastic Four, and most of the internet filled up with Alien Queen and Ripley and Scully becoming Disney princesses memes, and there wasn't so much coverage on the dozens of other IPs which could soon be under Disney's control. However, when it comes to at least one franchise, Disney has promised that they are not changing Deadpool to match his family-friendly model. Thank God. But there are still plenty of other things that are up in the air. One chief concern is what will happen to the Fox television shows. Disney will soon own The Simpsons and Family Guy, but non-Fox produced shows that air on the network are a question mark. What does the deal mean from Gotham, for instance? As a company, Fox will shift its focus to news and sports, but will its existing shows be cancelled or moved to ABC or even the new streaming service? For now, Fox and Disney have said no, everything is staying put. At the 2018 TCAs, Fox spoke with reporters about the future of the network in the wake of the buyout. EW was on hand and heard from Fox Television Group Chairman and CEO Dana Walden, who said there are no plans to move Fox shows over to ABC. According to Walden, a new era of Fox TV will see the continuation of their original content, and that likely won't change much in the coming year. Basically, Disney has put its stamp on it, but for now it looks like the mouse is keeping his gloved hands to himself. Beyond the next year, however, things are a bit more up in the air. When it comes to new and returning scripted content, Fox TV Group Chairman Gary Newman assured that business will be done as usual. He said, "The truth is we don't know. We have to operate as if the deal won't go through. Our anticipation is that it will go through. It will pass the regulatory muster. This development season we are reading scripts. We will make similar amount of pilots as we have made in the past. We aren't going to worry about what happens down the road when this deal happens." The current Time Warner AT&T merger is having trouble overcoming regulatory hurdles, so there's a precedent for the Fox-Disney merger to not go through. That doesn't mean it won't, but it's not going to be an easy road. Assuming things go as planned, however, Newman says there's no plan for Disney to alter the tone of Fox programming. He said, "They were incredibly vocal to us about how much they liked our brand, how much they admire the programming. We have every expectation they are not acquiring Fox to somehow turn it into some form of a PG company, to Disney-fy it. They will be encouraging all of our content." Time will tell, of course, but it would be bad business and frankly stupid for Disney to spend billions of dollars it probably doesn't have on a company only to turn it around and mess with the tone of successful content. Not that it will stop them from doing so if they wish, it would just be very stupid. Though with a lack of independent shows shoving their way into Hollywood and television scene, if Disney decides to go ahead and let the mouse clean up its new house, there isn't much anyone can do about it. Streaming services are quickly being overtaken by the big five larger and more powerful houses, so there isn't much escape from content. I mean, unless you decide to read a book, of course. And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'll see you guys next time on the Weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise. And here we are once again at the end of a new edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, or the show in general, we would love to hear from you. You may have noticed a few changes in the show this week as we enter the new year. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, or what you think we can do better. You can surf on over to the Chronic Rift homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on the website using your microphone. Just click the widget that says Send Voicemail and follow the prompts. You can also write an email or send an MP3 to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com, or even go short form with Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith, all one word. And I am Womprat99, like the creature Luke with Bullseye in his T16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook. The usual disclaimer applies, of course, if you leave us feedback, you may hear your words in a future edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Take a moment, stop on by, and see what the shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. The main show is making a comeback in 2018, offered weekly via Facebook Live on Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern. Grab a cuppa and join in the fun, or download the audio version later in the podcast feed. We also explore our favorite aspects of genre entertainment with the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, presenting the transcription feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, Doctor Who and Mr. Drew, the Home Game Show version podcast, and so much more. If you have a Roku player, you can treat it like a time machine with the Chronic Rift's Roku channel, where you can find episodes of the Chronic Rift's adventures in the 1990s, when it was a public access television show on the New York City airwaves. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who from the very beginning of the franchise and reviewing those tales in the Timestamps Project. This week, I'm kicking out the 22nd season with the 6th Doctor and Attack of the Cybermen, and you can find that review and so many more at creativecriticality.wordpress.com. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as an artist and cover designer. She did the logo for Creative Criticality, and although I'm a little bit biased, I think she does great work. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make that store supports the Chronic Riff Network. Your support helps keep us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures in drama, comedy, and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn. Find your favorite seat, and enjoy the journey. I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with a creaky chair. Damn it, chair. Take a moment, stop on by, and see what other shows the squeaky chair has to offer.
That's a wrap!